Jeremy Crawford, lead rules designer of Dungeons & Dragons at Wizards of the Coast, has said some pretty crazy stuff when clarifying some D&D rules. Stuff like drow druids that wild shape lose their dark vision because they are using the animal senses, but they keep their sunlight sensitivity. Or the spell Firebolt cannot be twinned because it targets an object. There are lots of strange rulings, but hey, he's the lead rules designer, so you gotta listen to him. Right? No, Jeremy Crawford isn't God in your D&D campaign. And before going any further, I want to say I respect Jeremy Crawford tremendously. In actuality, this video was almost titled, Lay Off Jeremy Crawford, and let me explain why. Jeremy Crawford is responsible for making a game system that doesn't break. He's not responsible for you having a fun game. As a dungeon master, you're responsible for that. Not Crawford, not Matt Mercer, not your friend Dave from the game store. You. But Sage Advice and Crawford are there to clear up difficult rulings, right? That's not up for debate. So, next question, what do you do when there's a ruling you don't understand, or a player at your table brings up that you're going against what Jeremy Crawford said? Well, the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 69 says, wait. Class, where did the stupid YouTube man make a mistake? The issue there is giving automatic deference to the text or another person rather than whether the ruling makes any sense. As DMs, I argue that your own common sense should come first before anything else. What is the dream of a tabletop RPG? Because D&D doesn't have better visuals, it's not less work, and if you're buying books and minis, it doesn't cost less. So what's its edge over other forms of media? Creativity. Games like D&D allow people to be more creative and have no restrictions. The rules are in place to give a shared creative space. That's it. Rules are used to facilitate the shared experience. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you used the Dawn and Doff armor rules for 5e? What about the actual rules for surprise rounds or opportunity attacks? Every D&D group, whether they realize it or not, picks and chooses the rules they want to engage with when they play the game. Whether it's strictly rules as written, rules as intended, or a home game setup all their own. Jeremy Crawford's advice is usually fine. For new DMs, he's a great resource because most of his advice is given in a way so it doesn't break the game. I think that Crawford's job really is give advice that a new dungeon master can use that won't break their game or open them up to a rules contradiction. Let's use one of my previous examples. If you say Firebolt can be twin spelled, then you're opening up the possibility for a huge design contradiction that I don't have time to get into. By clarifying in Sage Advice, he's making sure that a young, new DM won't go off track and break their game. Now, is Jeremy Crawford perfect? No. But most Sage Advice is fine. Yet, for experienced DMs, we never look to Crawford or anybody else because it is our game that we're running. Don't focus on every other game. Focus on your own game. If the logic is internally consistent for you and your players, then you're doing fine. Am I saying to not care about the rules? No. You should have a basic understanding of the 5th edition rules. Then, once you're comfortable with the rules and know them, break them all you want, because you'll know what the consequences of breaking a certain rule is. Like any established field, you can go outside of those rules once you know them front to back. Otherwise, my recommendation is to do what is sensible. Players, Jeremy Crawford isn't a god. He's a person like your dungeon master who loves the game. So don't hold him up on a pedestal or think that his rulings are more authoritative than your own dungeon masters. And DMs, you have infinitely more authority in your game than Jeremy Crawford or some other internet D&D celebrity does. I'm just using Jeremy Crawford, but I could easily replace his name with Matthew Mercer or Brennan Lee Mulligan or someone else. If you're confused or aren't sure how to rule, look it up after the session. There are plenty of places online to go and get help. This community is big and open and always willing to help a new dungeon master. But don't feel bound to the advice of anybody. Now, if you want to get more confident about your DMing skills, I suggest checking out this video right here. And thank you for entering the dungeon.